very difficult day for all of us, but I want us to do our best today to keep this a celebration, and all the happy things that and the positive impact that Herb's meant on each of our lives. So it makes me smile when I think about that. To go ahead and get started, first, thank you all for being here today. That's fantastic that we've got all of you here. To start, we'd like to ask Herbert Fullerton's, his son has agreed to come up and give us the opening prayer. So, Herbert.
Our Father in heaven, we are gathered today to remember Herbert Fullerton and ask Thee to bless us to be able to remember happy and good things today and to share those memories with one another, so that they can become a treasure for us in days to come. And as we talk and share stories and memories, that those can become things that we esteem to hold dear and make us better than we are because of the memory of a life well lived. We are grateful, Father, for the gospel of Jesus Christ, and thank Thee for the comfort that brings to us. We ask Thee to watch over us today. Help us all to be safe, and especially those who have traveled. Please help us to feel peace, and as others have said, to remember happy things, joyful things that will gladden our hearts. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Herbert. Herbert Hall Fullerton. Herb was born 1984, March, in Colorado, very small town in Colburn, Colorado. And he was born to Vera and Edgar Fullerton. The small area was in Grand Mesa area in Colorado, and he grew up on the family farm, where I have zero doubt that he had learned tons of valuable lessons on the farm, how to battle through difficult situations, learning how to resolve problems and so forth. But even at an early age, when he was 4 years old, he had a real battle and nearly lost his life. Then he had an ear infection that became very serious. So he battled through that and came out strong. But early on, I had many conversations with him about his time when he was growing up. Talked about driving the family tractor. I was, Herb, when did you first learn how to drive? Oh, when I was about 8 years old. I'm driving the family tractor around, helping. I'm sure it was invaluable on the family farm. Talked about, when's the first time you were fixing things? Well, when something broke on the farm, his dad was there and he said, okay, we're not going to order a new part. We've got to fabricate it. And I'm sure he was over there welding parts at age 12 or who knows. But these formative years, I'm sure, cultivated his strong work ethic. and his confidence, being able to solve problems. And I'm sure those that have interacted saw those skills in action, and he was never one to boast or brag about his knowledge or his skills. If he had ideas or thoughts on, oh, we should do, or oh, this would be a better route or so forth, he would just present those and let each of us figure out the true path. So I think a lot of people, when they think about growing up in that environment as a kid, pretty tough farm environment and so forth, that's difficult, and that would be a challenge for my life. But I never once heard him complain about anything like that. It was always positive and so forth. I don't think he had much time at all in his life that he felt complaining was the beneficial aspect. So he always spoke quite fondly of that time in his life. But even at a young age too, in a small community, Herb began to excel not only on the farm but also academically in school. The community was so small that 3rd and 4th graders were combined together. But he was doing so well that he actually skipped a grade and they moved him up. And later on, his parents were looking for more opportunities for he and his sister Zoe. And they decided to move the family farm, move the family, and move him up to Nampa, Idaho, when he was 14 years old. And Herb mentioned that this was something that made him even a little nervous. I'm sure it seemed like a huge metropolis to him at that time, moving to Nampa, but it didn't take him long to excel there as well. Even though he was nervous, he shortly became, it didn't take him long before he became the FFA president in the school. He was a linebacker on the varsity football team at the time. And his academics were continuing to do very well. So whenever I think about Herb's life, it was definitely lived to the fullest. And then after high school, his father, I'm sure there was lots of pressure to stay at home and help out on the farm. But he received a scholarship to Utah State University to play football. And he took advantage of the opportunity. He played a year of football for the university. But I think he soon realized, okay, academia was, and the education is what really fueled him and what he was passionate about. So he focused more on his education at that time and got his degree in economics. And then from there, with the degree in economics, he started his family. And that's when he had 2 boys, Brent and Baird. And they returned back to Nampa at that time to help out with the family and the farm. But I think that was quite short-lived when Herb realized, okay, this my true passion is back in academia, and I'm sure there was some desire to push for something more for his family at that time too. So he returned back to academia, picked up his master's, and then went on to get his PhD at Iowa State. At that time, Herb and his family returned back to Logan, where he accepted a position at the university to teach and research in the field of economics. And And this is where Herb spent his career, 36-year-long career doing so. And coming from a very humble, small town, farm tough, but confident, he had a career that took him across the globe: Kenya, Bangladesh, South Korea, Thailand. He had his family there for some of the stretch in Thailand. Actually learned the language while he was there. And then he went on to remarry at this time and had another son, saw his family grow, Todd. And at the same time, his research and his teaching, his expertise in economics and with water issues. At that time in his career, he was a true specialist and an expert. And that led to an assignment where he was the special assistant to the Associate Secretary of Land and Water Resources. Actually worked in Washington, D.C. for 2 years. So a pretty esteemed position. And then after 2 years in D.C., he returned back to Logan, where he then remarried, met Rosemary, and the two of them were professors at Utah State during the time, actually officing next to one another. But I remember their initial courting, and my mom talking about, oh, I'm playing racquetball and so forth. And I can just imagine how that went over. Even though the two of them were courting, I'm sure there was no quarter in the racquetball court still. In fact, didn't someone get hit in the side of the head with the racquetball racket? I'm not sure who did that. Probably more important who won, but I think the important thing for both of them is that they found one another, and that's 31 years together. And I'm sure that both would have only wished for a little more time if possible. But that's 31 great years. So most of those years were spent while working at Utah State, and Herb eventually became the acting dean of economics before he retired. So what a great career. That's pretty impressive. In retirement, he saw his family grow, helping his kids and his grandchildren, figuring out their ways through life. I'm sure we all came with our own significant problems, and Herb was always someone that you could reach out to with a wealth of knowledge, and he would always make the time. But the one thing that Herb taught me, and I always appreciated, and he could solve any problem that I went to him with, but he didn't ever take my problem and go try to solve it completely for me. He would teach me. He would teach me. He'd teach me how to solve my own problems. Now I think that's a fantastic trait. I don't want it to be a sad day. I'm grateful. I met Herb when I was a little older in life. And, you know, we didn't call each other father and son. But I always respected him with the same reverence. And fondness. As any son would for a father. And he always made me feel that way too. So, I'll miss him deeply. But I'm thankful. I'm very happy. And I tried to summarize some of his life, but that's a big life with big impact, and it's impressive. So thank you for now I'd like to take a minute. We've got a musical selection from Ginger Frank. Yeah, if we can go ahead and start with that section. Thank you, Ginger. Okay. Thank you.
I want to thank Rosemary for having me do this. Me and Rosemary have been friends forever. Even though she moved away, I haven't seen her for 30 years. She used to play the piano for me all the time to sing. She is a fantastic piano player. And I want you to know I've been through this, and it does get better. I love you. You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses. Come fill me again. Come, let me love you. like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleeping blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Come, let me love you. Let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter. Let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you. Let me always be with you. Come, let me love you. Come, love me again.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Now, Herb's son, Todd Fullerton, is going to provide the tribute. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. Like Shane said, he wouldn't want us to be sad. We're here to celebrate his life and what a great guy he was, how capable, warm, loving, kind. He was all those things. We're here to honor and remember Herb. He was our dad, our husband, grandpa, uncle, friend, and colleague. He was one of the most capable, well-rounded people I ever knew. Honest, kind, fair, quick-witted. He lived his values every day in quiet, consistent ways. He was truly a gentle, humble person. When I was a kid, I knew Dad could fix anything. Whether it was a broken toy, leaky faucet, or even a bad day, he always had the right answers and tools for the job. He believed that if you could read and weren't afraid to try, you could figure out just about anything. He proved it by building a cabin for his sons, making playhouses for grandkids, running new water lines at the house, tending his garden, and renovating the Logan Canyon cabin that we spent so many birthdays and summers at. Dad was always an athlete. He played football in high school and USU. He ran miles and miles, including a marathon and many half marathons. Even after 80, he biked more than 20 miles a day until he was diagnosed with cancer. When I was still quite young, Dad started playing handball and racquetball. He met Rosemary on the racquetball court. That started their courtship, and shortly after Rosemary lost her son, she and Dad were married on the 9th floor of the business building at USU. Our blended family became a blessing for all of us. Even though I was much younger than Rosemary's teenage and adult kids, they accepted me right away. I remember asking Dad, do I have two moms now? Watching Dad and Rosemary together showed me what true partnership looks like. They shared mutual respect, deep care, and were always anticipating each other's needs. And I hope to use that as a blueprint for myself. When Dad and Rosemary lived in Providence, Sundays were for the grandchildren. One of Dad's rules was simple. You could stay and have fun as long as you were potty trained. Avery, my middle son, learned the consequence of breaking that rule. One Sunday, Dad took a picture of Avery standing by the mailbox giving an unforgettable glare when he waited for me to pick him up. He broke that rule. That picture still makes me laugh every time I see it. Dad was full of lessons and principles, but never in a strict or rigid way. He made learning effortless and important. Some of my favorite family memories were on the water at Hiram Reservoir at Bear Lake, with Dad at the helm of our ski boat. It was never about having a goal for the day. It was just the fresh air, the sunshine, and the time together. Nana always packed turkey sandwiches, watermelon, and grapes, and Nathan, Rosemary's youngest son, even learned how to catch grapes thrown at him while skiing. It mattered to Dad and Rosemary to find ways to bring us all together, making happy memories. Dad loved to cook, and he was really good at it. From sourdough bread with Asiago on top to stir fry, salmon, chowder, and veggie kebabs. Food was one of the ways he showed love. I've carried many of his recipes into our regular rotation at home too. Our favorite is Grandpa Salmon, that's what we call it now. Whether he was in the kitchen or out in the garden or behind the wheel of the boat, he made everybody feel welcome and at ease. It was hard when Dad and Rosemary moved to Texas 10 years ago. We always looked forward to visiting, and they made it special. Dad took us to NASA to see Saturn V, to the Alligator Park, to the Natural History Museum in Houston. Even though it's still hard being far apart, we always made the most of the time we had. Each summer, Dad and Rosemary would also come and stay at the cabin up Logan Canyon. We spent many hours there playing games, swinging, cooking hot dogs, and playing cornhole. Being apart also meant that there was more phone calls. Dad never missed a birthday. There was always a card and a gift in the mail to mark the occasion. Over the past few years, I made it a habit to call Dad almost every day. We talked about life, politics, the economy, personal struggles, work challenges, and sometimes we just laughed. Dad had a great sense of humor, and he was a talker, a communicator with a sharp wit, and I'll miss our conversations. We were all lucky to have him for as long as we did, and we all benefited from his kindness, his wisdom, and his warmth. Dad never measured success by degrees or job titles, even though he held some impressive ones himself. What mattered to him was giving your best, staying curious, and living with integrity. My path in life looked different from his, but he believed in and supported all of us unconditionally. He treated Rosemary's kids with the same love and respect he gave his own. He was proud when I began to thrive, but he never made me feel any less than during the times where I was still figuring it out or struggling. He had a gift for seeing the best in people, especially his family, and made sure that we felt his love. He taught us to work hard, stay inquisitive, be humble, and honest. Loving your family fiercely and never being afraid to try. We will miss him deeply, but we carry his lessons with us every day. Because of him, we know how to face challenges, celebrate small joys, and love each other for who we are. That is his legacy, and we'll honor it for the rest of our lives. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Todd. Now we've got a musical selection by Monica Braun. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Now we'd like to open it up to everyone. If someone would like to come up and say a brief few words, please feel free to do so.
A background in why I'm up here is to say a few words. Rosemary and myself and 3 other gals back there were besties in high school and throughout our lives. And every year we would try and get together and go to dinner, most of the time in Salt Lake. And Rosemary would have to travel a ways, but then we decided we wanted to make it a bigger occasion. And I can't see you, Rosemary. I have to see you. We decided that we would start spending maybe a few days going somewhere fun, and we did that for a long time. And finally, we realized that poor Rosemary was visiting here and where we were in Utah, and we thought we'd go to Houston, and so we were excited and we got our tickets, and a couple days before we were coming, Rosemary called me and said, "Now, I'm happy you're coming, but I have to tell you I'm not going to be there when you arrive." And so she was going to be in another state receiving, I'm sure, a prestigious award. And she said, "But Herb will be at the airport to pick you up. And here's his phone number, just call him when you've got your luggage." And so, we'd never been to Houston, the airport was crazy, and by the time we got our luggage and called him, he was right there. I mean, he was standing in the parking lot waiting for us, and he came over and he was so friendly. And we had met him occasionally, but here he has picked up 4 gabbing gals from Utah, and I'm sure it was overwhelming for him a bit. But he said, "Get in the car, I'll put all your luggage in the trunk." And we're like, "No." I insisted, and so we got in the car, and then we started driving, and he was pointing out different things to us about Houston and where they were living, and made us feel so at ease and fun. And sorry, we didn't even miss Rosemary very much, because her was such a great sport in helping us. And then he said, "Oh, I'm sure you're hungry, so let's go eat. Do you like Mexican food?" And so we said yes, and I think he had Shane meet him there so that he would have another buddy full of his wives from Utah. And anyway, so we went into this Mexican restaurant, and we laughed, and we had such a great time. And he told us stories about him, and we got to know him so well. And then we went to their house, and he took us on a tour through the house and told us the places we could sleep, and he carried, Geraldine and I were staying upstairs, and he carried all of our luggage, and it was heavy, because we don't pack lightly when we go places, and we felt bad, but he, took those suitcases up the stairs, and he made us feel so at home. We talked with him that night, and then the best thing, the next morning, we woke up to his signature dish of waffles. And I think he said he only made them usually on Christmas, but with strawberries and probably whipping cream, I'm sure. And then he had a whole plate of fruits for us. It felt like we were in a fine dining breakfast buffet. It was so beautifully laid out, and he was just so kind, and we just really learned to love his kindness and his helpfulness and willingness to make us feel at home. And probably with all the things that he had helped us with, I would say He was so delightful. He was so fun. And actually, he spent every night gabbing on the couch with us, right, Rosemary? We did, we had to talk when we were away, because when we got home, he...
Remember, I did come here with you.
Oh yes, she actually, yeah, we had fun with her. She actually did come in an Uber to the house later that day. Sorry, Rosemary. We were having so much fun. We love Rosemary and Herb, and it was a very special occasion for us to get to know him and spend time with her in her place. Thank you.
My name's Brant, Herb's son, and Rosemary asked if we could think of one memory. I just turned 62, so I've had 62 years of memories. It's like an ocean, and to pick one cupful, but there's a couple that stick out. I think Shane mentioned in his remarks helping, and as I think about my dad over 62 years, there's so many memories of him helping me in one way or another. I remember as an adult even, he would just out of the blue, he would call me up, and it was a time when I needed someone to talk to, and I needed some advice, and I thought there's a higher power guiding him to call me up just out of the blue and talk to me. He did that so many times. The earliest memory I have of my dad helping me, I think I was about 4 or 5, and I was playing in the fire, wearing cowboy boots, and somehow with a belt, I was flipping the coals in the fire up into the air, and one went down inside my cowboy boot. There was this burning coal, and my dad was right there to rescue me and sit me down and pull the boot off. I still have a scar about that big on my, I think it's my right ankle. But all through my life, he was there to help me, and it's a lesson to me in what matters in life. As I think of my dad's legacy, I think of all the service that he rendered. I don't think of the I'm sure his professional accomplishments were very rewarding for him, but the things that stick out to me are those acts of service. There's a couple other quick memories I'll share. One, it was actually across 3 years. I was a Little League baseball player, and for decades after, whenever my dad and I would speak of this, and I think anyone else involved would bring a smile to our faces, and it was just a happy time. But so when I was in my 4th, 5th, and 6th grade years, I was an aspiring baseball player. And we attended a small school. We didn't have enough kids really to staff a baseball team. So we had to borrow 2 or 3 kids from another school, and we had to have everyone play, even kids that weren't comfortable playing sports. And my dad and 2 of the other kids' dads were our coaches. And I remember how, we took everyone in and we supported each other and worked together as a team. We did, I don't remember how we did the 4th and 5th grade year, but the last year we actually won 2 championships. We were in a city that was part of Logan City and part of the county, so we played in 2 leagues and we won both leagues. And there again, my dad was helping all of us to have a great confidence and character building experience. Among many other things I'll share, as I get older, I think I've appreciated this one more, but I'll just share quickly. Someone mentioned, I think Todd mentioned about the cabin. So my dad grew up on a farm, and he could do almost anything. As an adult, I think of the accomplishment where he, living in Logan, about 2.5 hours away, up in the Gooseberry Mountains, right in the center of the state of Utah, built a cabin with his own hands. And it wasn't just a small cabin, it was, 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, a big cabin. He did everything. And I remember, even hauling the concrete for the footings down the steep trail in a wheelbarrow. And I think about, how many people would build their own cabin. 90% of the people, you meet on the street wouldn't do that. But then to do it on weekends when you're busy with young children, you're busy with young in your career, and to drive. I think it was actually about a 4-hour trip from Logan up to the Gooseberry Mountains on weekends and dig, the water line and things like that. And to me, that's an insight into his, not just his capability, but into his determination. Think if we all approached life with that kind of determination. I don't know if I've ever met another person who would take on a project like that. So anyway, those are a couple memories that stick out. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Becca. I was Herb's granddaughter from his second son, Brent Baird. And my relationship with him really became much more of a thing when I moved up to Utah State to go to school. And I'm really grateful that I did that. Rosemary was so grateful that I was around and they would take me out to dinner and, occasionally, and they were there. And I missed them when they moved away to Houston because I was still going to school. But as everybody was talking about some of their memories, and they said he always made time. I would call sometimes to check in and talk with him. And he was always happy to hear about my stuff, and he would talk, and we'd talk for like 2 hours, and he always made that time. It didn't seem to matter what else would have been going on. He always just would chat. And I also remember when I first got here, I'm this lone college student and I'd never lived on my own before, and it wasn't like my parents hadn't dropped me off and set me up anyway, but he took me to Walmart for my first shopping trip as a single adult, trying to figure out what I was going to eat and what I was going to make. And we were there for over 2 hours, and he was so patient the whole time as he was patient with me as I, kind of navigated my way through figuring out how to buy groceries for myself. He really was really great that way, and Rosemary was so very, very kind to me and so good to me. And something that's maybe a little bit of a laugh to think about was when my dad actually does, he can fix anything in my opinion. There's actually a lot of things he inherited from his dad. And honestly, as I got to know Herb a little better, I was like, oh, is that where my dad gets it from? And, we talked about him growing up on the farm and driving anything. And when my mom actually mainly taught my brother to drive, but then she was kind of tired of it, and so my dad got to teach me. And it was so weird to him that you had to learn to turn the steering wheel so far and to use the gas and the brake and some of that, because he just was like, I've always driven. And so that made me think of Grandpa Herb, probably like son a little bit, that they just always knew how to drive and they always knew how to do some of that stuff. But I also am just so grateful for those times I was able to talk to Herb on the phone, and for that cabin. I think one of my favorite memories was my brother Jacob was graduating college. I don't remember, was it his master's or just his bachelor's, and we did a graduation party at the cabin. And for this graduation party, my wonderful husband came up with the idea that we would do Fruit Ninja. And you could go to a grocery store and get, fruit that was kind of bad that nobody wanted, and that, was kind of the seconds, shall we say. And then my husband has a sword. And we were all up there celebrating at the cabin, which is such a special memory, and we were cutting fruit out of the air with swords. It was a really good day, and we were so happy to be there in that cabin and with him and with Rosemary, and so those were some of my fun memories.
I'm Chuck Middleton. I'm his oldest nephew, and I have a lot of fond memories. It was mentioned that Herb was very athletic. I can remember, at least from the time I was 2 years old, how athletic he was. He could stand on his hands and he could walk on his hands, things like that, you know, in the yard and things like that. And it was just kind of cool. I always admired him. And then when he came back to the farm, you know, I'm gonna guess that was about 1960, and I go back like 67 years to be able to tell you this. And he was so good, he would take me, they got a windrower, you know, the haying started to change about that time because they didn't have windrowers until about that time. You know, everything was with a sickle, and you know, and they got a windrower, and he'd take me to ride with him while he was windrowing hay and stuff. And they also trusted me a lot because in 1962, when I was 6, I was driving a tractor in the field in the place that they lived on. He and Karen and the boys weren't even all born yet. But yeah, and so there was a tradition in the family. The Fullertons were, whatever, you learned early how to do things and stuff. And again, he was so capable, but a lot of that he got from his dad and mom. They were just wonderful people, and for those of you that didn't get the honor to know them, his dad was the most humble human being that I ever knew. And I know that he got a lot of that from him. And so those are just a few of my memories, and he was always so gracious when I got a chance to visit with him, and he always was so encouraging. So thank you.
Hi everyone. Those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Lindsay Peterson. Herb, and well, I'm connected to Todd, so he's my brother. I'm stepdaughter from way back when. A lot of you guys, I knew who you guys were clear back in the day when we went to Idaho and visited all the family back there. So hi everyone. I just want to say to Rosemary, thank you for being there for him. He was awesome. And I have so many good memories, from fishing to the ducks to the cabin to the last time I saw Herb was last year when he came out, and Todd and the kids and all of us went up and we had a picnic up there, which was great and it was awesome. So yeah, so I just, thanks for being a good wife to him. I know my mom, she really wasn't great. Good lady, but just not relationship material. So, yeah, and I just, a lot of things, like some of his friends, like Daisy and Trevor, I knew he, you know, loved them to death. Norm was one of his friends from back out in West Virginia. I knew him. I knew Kip. He was on the FBI. And I'd always ask him, I was like, can you just tell me some stuff? He's like, well, I can tell you a little bit, but I can't tell you it all. So I was like, okay. So I was just always enthused with all that stuff. But he really cherished his friends, he cherished his family. I know, you know, Rosemary's kids, I didn't really know a whole lot of them. I knew Daniel a little bit, but and I only had met her kids just a little bit right as they got together. But I know he loved all of you guys, and you know, every single one of you, even Olivia, Jaden, Avery, and I didn't get to grow up with Rosemary's kids. I knew who Brent and Baird were, and Ann. They're all awesome. Haven't really met the kids, so I'm hoping to meet their kids here while I'm here. It's just kind of a sad deal that, you know, weddings and funerals, that's where we all come together to meet everybody, but it's just what it is sometimes. But I just wanted to stand and just tell Herbert that all the memories and all the things he did. There was one I just want to share really quick. He'd always ask me, so you have homework? And I said, well, not tonight, I don't. And he's like, and I had a paper like each week that they would like look through, and it would say what was gonna go on for like the whole week and everything. Well, he got a hold of this paper and I hadn't showed him for the week, and he's like, you have a kite contest going on? And I was like, yeah. He's like, but I'm not doing this tomorrow. He's like, oh yes we are. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was a late nighter, I'm a late nighter. So he put this kite together. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, we're using a garbage bag. And I was like, okay. So he used this big white garbage bag, put it all together, and started like these little dots, and then a loop, and then a circle. And I was like, okay, it's a smiley face, okay, cool. Well, he helped me come fly that kite. And I ended up with first place. And that was back in Reston, Virginia. So when I was in 3rd grade. And I won't forget, you know, all the things from fishing to cooking to, you know, he was just a great entertainer. And I just want to say I love you. And I just hope everybody here today just has a good day, because that's all he was about, is smiles and being happy and sharing everything with everyone and just being there for them. So, but thank you, everyone. Thank you.
My name's Rick Robinson. I'm the brother of Rosemary. I'm her favorite brother. I'm her only brother. So anyway, I want to share with you. Herb was the taxi driver in Houston. My wife and I land in Houston, and I call Rosemary and ask her, you know, don't talk to me now. The road's busy, and Herb's driving. I call again because they're not there yet. It's busy. So finally, Herb and Rosemary show up and they pick us up. And back in this day, there was the Garmins. I don't know if you remember the Garmins. And the phone GPS was just coming out, and Herb's driving, just really patient, and we're debating on which GPS we're gonna follow on the roads in Houston. And of course, Herb allows us to use Rosemary's because it's just the nature of it. And we end up in a dead road. And the Garmins back then do not recalibrate, they just go. So finally we used Herb's, and it got us where we need to be. And the patience of Herb with everyone is amazing. And to know him is to make your life better. The time you spent with him, your life's better. My life's better. The different things that he taught me, little subtle things. And I'll just tell you, I am so grateful that Rosemary was able to meet him. He was always the racquetball man to me. She's dating the racquetball man. And but to see how he's handled all the challenges through different mixed families, it's incredible. And he's made my life better, and for that I give thanks to my Supreme Being for having known Herb. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for providing some thoughts and some memories. Appreciate it. And now we will have the musical selection from Monica Frank with Spencer Johnson.
Quite interesting that we ended up with two front girls, but Ginger and I aren't sisters, you can probably tell that. She's so much cuter, but our husbands are actually cousins.
Till we meet again, by his counsel's guide uphold you, with his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. God be with you till we meet till we meet, till we meet at our Jesus' feet, till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet
Thank you. Now, Herb's nephew, Eddie Middleton, will provide us with a closing prayer.
Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for giving us Herb all these years, Lord, that just his kind words, his heart, his genuine generosity to family, to his wife, grandchildren, Lord, and friends. But just thank you, Lord, for his life and example he shared with us, Father. And I just pray at this time, Lord, that it is a sad time, but it's also the going home. It's the joy part, Lord, that we all look forward to, Lord, that you've called us, those who are just covered in the blood of Jesus, Lord. Thank you for watching over us, and those that ask if they haven't, do it, please, Lord, to accept this gift of God that he's given us. And I just look forward to the day, Lord, that we can be back together with Herb, but make this a joyous day to celebrate his life. But thank you, Lord, for all you've given us and blessed us. In your son's name we want to pray. Amen.
All right, if we could have everyone please stand.